And welcome, folks, to the latest and greatest from Step Further Sports. We are part of the Hockey Podcast Network and the Bills Mafia Buffalo fan base platform. We're brought to you by Rich Brow Brewing, located at 5 South 20th Street. That is Richmond, Virginia's premier Buffalo Bills backers bar. The Buffalo Bills have a huge matchup against the New England Patriots in Foxborough on Sunday. So playoff and division implications hang in the balance. Buffalo Sabres have some really big potential existential things going on with themselves, with a lot of rumors swirling around now on the job status of Kevin Adams, along with a game this evening in Vancouver to take place at 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. But perhaps more on that in the weeks to come, because we are talking Buffalo Bills and NFL tonight. And again, our focus, like I said, will be on that. And we have an outstanding returning guest this evening. He is Bills Mafia's most amiable and elusive man. And don't even think about it, FBI. His weekly show, the Bruce Exclusive, is always a must-listen for those looking for a fresh and philosophical take on the Bills as a team with very relatable life stories. And he'll continue to give you those 3 F words of food, football, and fill in the blank. Please welcome back to the show, Bruce Nolan.
Oh, I got to be honest. I have been introed a couple times in my day. I'm not sure I have been introed as effusively as I was just introed. I don't know if you got this script that you could send to me and I could make that like some sort of demand. You know how celebrities demand weird crap?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They're all like, oh, I want, just green M&Ms or whatever it is. Right. I'm going to say, listen, I'll be on your show, but you have to read this thing that the Step Brothers Sports Podcast made for me. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we're always glad to have you on, Bruce. And again, pleasure to have you back. We were talking off camera a little bit. The last time we had you on was right after the Super Bowl with the ass kicking the Eagles gave the Chiefs. So quite a bit. Things have changed since then, of course, not only for the Chiefs and the Eagles, but then obviously the Bills, who we'll be really focusing on tonight. But like we said, again, right after the Super Bowl, how have things been in your undisclosed corner of the world, Bruce? How have things been other than busy?
Things have been busy. I think that this has been an interesting year for the Buffalo Bills. I think that what you've seen is you have seen kind of the last bastion of people you would consider to be militantly optimistic. I think there's always a group of people, and on the extreme ends of the spectrum, there are always people who you would consider to be militantly optimistic and militantly pessimistic, right? People who aren't just negative. They aren't just positive. They're aggressively negative. They're aggressively positive, to the point where they're negative about their negativity, or they're negative about their positivity. So if you say something critical, they're angry at you because they're militantly positive. And if you say something positive, then they're angry at you because they're militantly negative. I think what you've started to see is even the most militantly positive of Buffalo Bills fans, the people who thought that the McBean regime, which will never get old, saying that phrase, the McBean regime, will always be top notch for me. People who thought they were the greatest thing since sliced bread, even they are like, okay, maybe not. Like maybe they're just great and not stupendous. Like even those people are coming down off of that because okay, this is not quite working the way you want to, and you're putting a little bit more credit for the success of the team on Josh Allen, a little bit less on the organization around him. I think that's what you're starting to see a little bit this year. But you're also starting to see this weird increase in the militantly negative people's opinion because of the status of the rest of the AFC. So it's a weird, almost compression season where the most positive of people are like, okay, well, maybe they're not the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, maybe like the 5th greatest thing since sliced bread. And then the militantly negative people are like, yeah, McBean sucks. That's awful. You suck for liking them. But, the AFC kind of sucks. Maybe this could be it. And so I think that's a funny phenomenon to me. I think it's a funny phenomenon due to circumstances surrounding the AFC and the Buffalo Bills, and specifically, you're actually getting a little bit of compression in the fan base this cycle, which I think almost makes there be less dysfunction on social media, less dysfunction between people, because you're almost taking the highs and lowering them and taking the lows and hiring them. So I think that's kind of funny.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would also be remiss, Bruce, to not only just say like we're in a very weird place with the Bills this year, more so than ever in the last few. But I would be remiss to say I wanted to bring this up, and I know you brought this up on your show that came out today as well. That I really enjoyed your segment on your mixed messages and big moments pod last week about the soul dog. That I felt that really spoke to me, and obviously what you and your wife went through in your own experience when you were in your last days. With your pet at that time, not only heartbreaking but extremely relatable. But I really wanted to say I appreciate you sharing that story, because when I think about that, when that time will come, hopefully it won't be for a very, 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 very long time with my own dog. Like I will absolutely be keeping all that kind of stuff in mind.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for sharing that. It was, I got some positive feedback on the pod. Those are always tough stories to tell, but one of the one of the things that I always promised my listeners is that, listen, I don't pretend to be the best content creator out there. In fact, I'm pretty confident I'm not. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't deserve to be a spot on the Mount Rushmore of Bill's content creators. I'm just the guy who likes to watch the statues on Mount Rushmore. But I always promised I'd be honest. And I always promised I'd try to be fair. And I try to be intellectually honest. And one of the things that I think makes the show work is that there are things that pop up where we need to feel them repackaged for them to really land. I think a lot of what makes sports commentary, because there's so much of it, what makes it white noise to people is that it's the same information packaged in the same way at all times. And so it's, well, the Bills are bad. Well, now I'm just going to say that same thing, but I'm just going to say it louder. And that's when you look at places like, ESPN and Sports Illustrated, or whatever it is, Fox Sports One, no matter what it is, whenever you complain about content being just noise and volume, it's because they don't have an ability to package information in a different way. And so it's just, I'm saying this team is bad. Well, I'm saying this team is bad, but louder. And now I'm saying this team is bad, but louder than you. Well, I'm saying this team is good, and now I'm yelling at you and you're yelling at me. And nobody values that. And so one of the things I promised when we started doing the show is I was going to make ridiculously insane metaphors, and you all were just going to forgive me for that. But I was going to do it because it lands and it helps people absorb information in a different way when they see it through a different lens. And sometimes that means you have to be vulnerable with people. And sometimes that means you have to be wacky with people. And sometimes that means you have to make musicals with people. And sometimes that means you have to be kooky with people. But one way or another, it will land. And so I'm really glad I got some positive feedback on that show last week. It was an uncomfortable conversation to have, but I thought it was important. And I thought, I have people tell me, and one of the greatest compliments you can give is not really you told me something new, because let's be completely candid right here. We're content creators, you and me, okay? We don't have information that other people don't have. So why are they going to listen? Like, why? They're not going to listen to me and get information that they could not go out and achieve, right? Go out, coach some football, right? Read some books, learn up on football, pay the money to get the subscription for the data that you need, like do the things you need to do. And you could be just like me. I'm not special. I don't have information that you don't have, right? The reason you listen to me is there's a specific communication style, right? And it's entertainment and it's not informative because you already know these things, right? You can easily go find them out. You could Google 99% of the stuff that's on my show. You could Google and get, right? But it's not going to be packaged this way. And it's not necessarily going to land this way. And I think it's one of the cool things about content creation for us is that we can be challenged with that every week. We can say things like, listen, I know that you know this stuff, but you come listen to me so you can be entertained. You come listen to me so it can be packaged in a way that is relatable and digestible for you. And I just think that's really cool. So thank you for saying that. I'm sorry I rambled already 2 times.
Hardly a ramble.
Love it. We love it.
I appreciate you saying it, and it means something to me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously meaningful to us too, and to anybody who's a pet owner, because that's a terrible time for anybody to go through, of course. So, and for anybody to just know what that feels like, I mean, it just speaks volumes to know like the experience can really go truly like memorable in either the most positive ways or all the wrong ways too. So again, really appreciate you sharing that. But yeah, now to get to like the real meat and potatoes on this, of course, we've got the Bills, we got the Patriots this week. So
Yes, we do.
The Bills know what's at stake. The Patriots know that this is their first opportunity to get back on the hat and t-shirt game in this new iteration of themselves.
Took it out of my mouth. I'd say the same thing.
Right? So if the Bills lose, though, it's not a death knell, but more the creation of a more difficult path to get their first Lombardi. But before we get to the game, though, I kind of want to make sure we can revisit how the team has really gotten here at this point. And as I was saying a little bit off camera before this, Bruce. So thanks to a lot of your previous work that this really inspired me to go down a rabbit hole for this week. I really wanted to I want to thank you for your inspiration on this next little bit. I kind of worked on a bit just preparing for this episode. So in what you also do, again, just to give you some props where credit is due, you help the average fan and even a lot of diehards understand the needs and really understanding the needs of the team is absolutely your forte. But you obviously give your own philosophical take and a relatable take, just like we talked about. But after this, I want to hear your thoughts on how I approach this before we continue. So here it kind of goes. So it's kind of a recap. We got the Bills season so far. Teams at a respectable 9-4 record. They can be viewed really through some type of truly existential framework, and you could highlight the team's struggle to create their own personal meaning in however you want to view it as in the NFL as a whole, the AFC East, however big or small on the macro level you really want to look at it. So the team has really promised that they've been trying to kick this door down. There's this huge burden of expectation that the team is really on as they've been trying to get their first Lombardi for years and years, especially now in the Josh Allen and, like you said earlier, Bruce, the McBean era, the McBean regime. So the season obviously began with a pristine 4-0 start. You got this pure, almost unadulterated potential. So the team's just a wagon at this point. So almost like you got like a blank slate of a season where you got a Super Bowl dream. That's just really possibilities, but almost many people think it's a certainty at this point just because of the way things were going throughout that first month. But obviously this placed a huge burden of expectation that if you don't get here, it's going to be just colossal failure to so many, and that the team themselves, they really struggled to sustain this. So a lot of those losses, especially in the last 2 months throughout October and November, it made it really more volatile 3-4 stretch. And that really just demonstrates that absurdity that you could really control an outcome in such a chaotic system. That's the NFL. So just to kind of get into the fandom of itself, honestly, people have studied Bills Mafia at this point. And I was, again, trying to go down a rabbit hole on this too. There's a big expression of social identity with Bills Mafia where everybody wants to identify with the team, and their well-being really just rests on the team's fortunes in so many cases on this as well. The Buffalo community, obviously known for their blue collar, you got the high character people. They're always looking out for each other's back. It's reflected in the team itself. They wear the pride on their sleeves. When the Bills win, the community wins type of mentality. When they lose, everybody feels that loss. And the season's trajectory, therefore, has been really like a big test of everybody's resilience. And even the years prior to that, too, with all these huge playoff losses that have come in as the team has experienced, whether it's the Chiefs or the Bengals in the last few years, or just any even just regular season bump of the road, or you could even talk about the Damar Hamlin tragedy, or near tragedy rather, that happened. So getting into like a more philosophical battle, like you have the philosophy versus the execution of your philosophy. In this case, that philosophy being the everyone eats philosophy. So a lot of people really wanted to be critical of the everyone eats mantra at this point throughout the year, because the Brandon Bean quote, talk about the wide receiver room, and yet the attention on that has been really multiplied, and the execution of that has not exactly met expectations, because whether it's inexperienced players, immature players, injuries, that creates the challenge in and of itself. So it also speaks to really just the big problem that's at hand by the process, what's your theory, the lesson, whatever skill is trying to be enacted, embodied, realize there's that gap between the ideal, which is that game plan, the everybody eats, and the real one, what you get as your on-field performance, whether it's just the wide receivers just being unable to separate, the run defense throughout the course of the season. Just that really highlights the tension that I've found with this. But now looking at the present moment, again, I apologize for the ramble on here. the remainder of the season could be really approached one game at a time. And I know that's a mantra Sean McDermott and all the players on the team really like to follow as well. But and they're also trying to avoid that draining nature of like killer mode all the time. So as players, just trying to find that calm and before harnessing energy for like that next moment of action. This next game against the Patriots is obviously that next immediate challenge, and their focus should all be met on that. And obviously not the Super Bowl right away, because they still have to just go get there piece by piece. So obviously I just rambled a lot there, Bruce, just to kind of get the philosophical take. Because again, you really inspired me to kind of go down this rabbit hole and just to kind of meet you with your forte here. But with all that in mind, how do the Bills need to approach this game against the Patriots this week, Bruce? And obviously for the remainder of the season going forward. And then furthermore, if the team does meet like a really untimely end in January, or God forbid even sooner if they don't make it at all, it'd be tragic. How drastic do you believe a systemic change in philosophy will be needed?
I think the Buffalo Bills need to approach this game as if it is another test to their passing attack and another pressure point on, do you have the answers to beat top tier secondaries? So one of the things that coaching staff fans said after the first New England Patriots game was, well, probably not going to play a corner tandem quite like that. And then you played the Texans and your passing game put up a colossal 0. And I don't think you need to play a corner tandem like that, and that being New England, in order for that to be a test for your passing game. And I think this is another test for your passing game, because let's be honest, the Bengals are not a strong test for your passing game. So I'm glad that the passing game was able to get something going last week. What I'm interested in is, can you continue to funnel the passing game through the tight ends? Because I think we saw Dawson Knox have his best game of the year against the Bengals. But to be fair, the Bengals linebackers are not good. Well, the Patriots linebackers aren't stellar. It's not like they have high-level linebacker play all over the field. And if you have Dalton Kincaid back, which you do, and if he came out of the game healthy, which allegedly he did, and if you know that maybe you're not in the spot where you're giving Keon Coleman a huge chunk of percentage of snaps anymore, the way you were the last time you played the New England Patriots, maybe you can have a better run. I mean, people talk about second divisional games all the time as being a huge pointer toward your coaching staff. Who performs better in the second divisional game? If the Bills come out and look a lot better in the passing game than they did the first time, and a lot better than they have historically, I think that's a huge wheels up for Joe Brady, who has been embattled for rightful reasons this year. But if they come out and they look a lot better than they did the first time, and a lot better than they did against the Texans, and a lot better than they did, I mean, yeah, okay, I'm interested, because I think this is the way they should approach it. They should approach it like, hey, this is the caliber of team we're going to face in the playoffs. And our fan base right now is going, well, I mean, the AFC is looking pretty weak. Yeah, but are you weak? It doesn't matter how weak the AFC is if you're weaker, because that's what you're going to be playing. So I think you need to approach it as if this is the caliber of team you're going to play in the playoffs. And how do you stack up against a playoff caliber team when your passing game is in question? I think that's the big story this week is, can you get the passing game going against a team that's not Cincinnati?
So very much agree on that, of course,
Yep.
Bruce, because Cincinnati's defense, again, like you pointed out, they've been last in the league in so many different metrics, of course.
Right. They got to score 40 to win games.
Right.
Like we do too sometimes, honestly. But
I mean, a lot of people also criticize the fact that New England's schedule, who have they beaten? Maybe their defense has been dominant because of the fact that their schedule has just been, I don't want to use the phrase like piss poor, but like they've had the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. And like their path to their current record has shown that like they're able to win, but also win handily. So this could be a real test for them because, again, while yes, they have the record they have, I mean, everybody's going to give you the cliche answer as well. Like, you have the games, you win them on your schedule, and that you should reap the rewards of your success right there. So I could not agree more with just being able to take on the Patriots this week, because yes, if the Bills lose, like I said earlier, it's not going to be the worst thing, because they'll still have a path to the playoffs as a wild card. But if they do win, like, the AFC East isn't a foregone conclusion for them, because they still need some help. They need New England to still falter a bit, especially with a division game or even more than one loss after that. So the Patriots, they pose an interesting challenge, because obviously you got the huge narrative with Drake May right now. Is he going to be a perennial MVP contender, similar to how Allen has really just surged himself throughout these last 5 or 6 years at this point? And are the weapons that New England has on offense with Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, and Demario Douglas, their 2 tight ends, I mean, are they elevated because of May, or is it just a combination of, like, this is just a really strong team? So I'm very curious. I know the odds say it's going to be a neck and neck game, but it just poses such an interesting challenge. I truly can't have any, like, real vibe of what's going to happen for how it will play out. I know that's kind of a lame cop-out answer, but still, I feel like, as we talked about before, the path forward for the Bills to still really take advantage of a weak AFC is there regardless.
I have nothing further to offer aside from you perfectly encapsulating what you should approach this game as.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Sean, I don't know, you want to talk about the offense a little bit next.
I do. And I find it interesting too, just to kind of like wrap up Chris's point, that like the Bills are still favored in this game. I kind of thought that this game would be bet down, being that they did come into our building, beat us by the field goal in the previous matchup. Now we have to go to their place. We started as the favorite, and I kind of thought that would change. Grant, I know there's still multiple days left, but at the time that we're live right now, the Bills are still the favorite. And I find this game very interesting, because it makes me, wonder if we do end up losing this game, what type of confidence are the Bills going to have to, potentially not too many weeks have to go back into that building and beat them again, or try to beat them for the first time rather. And there's always that cliche where they say, like, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season, which is, definitely true. But I just wonder what that might do to the Bills, psyche, if they do go 0-2. But interestingly enough, you guys kind of got right into my question, so it's a good segue. A heavily discussed topic on the minds of many Bills fans, beginning way back, all the way back in the offseason, and made all the more polarizing, as Chris has mentioned, with Brandon Beane and his now infamous rant on WGR about the team not needing more receivers and more weapons at pass catchers, being satisfied with the players that they have on their roster. It really seemed to me that this entire season has been kind of like a roller coaster of complete futility for the most part at receiver specifically, whether it be, times we've heard some inside information potentially that Keon Coleman's maybe not too happy, may not want to resign with the team after his rookie deal, but that's neither here or there. Obviously injuries at the position, Josh Palmer being in and out, really, and also bringing players off the couch, like we saw with Hardman, and then more recently now with Cooks, just looking for something that they just don't seem to have, even if that's just at the outside, the X position. But, with receivers largely not being able to get open unless Josh Allen is really doing like a Houdini act and extending plays like only he can. Like we talked about, Bruce, in the most recent game, Dalton Kincaid comes back. He's finally healthy after being out multiple weeks. The offense started to cook with both he and now an emergent Dawson Knox being featured in that passing game. So is this something that you think may be a recipe for success moving forward into the stretch run of these games to close out the regular season and into the playoffs? Could the heavy usage of tight ends in the passing game be a legitimate solve to, the very pedestrian wide receiver play and play a key role in beating some of the league's best defenses? And then, because we already alluded to that a little bit in answering that question, I will pose a kind of a second question is, where might you see, how the season, and granted, I know there's more to play out. Dawson Knox has a really high contract number in terms of his yearly salary. Kincaid is going to need to get paid probably at some point. Do you see them making a change at tight end, or maybe drafting a receiver? How do you see the pass catching group potentially evolving post this season being complete?
first question was, is it viable? The answer is yes, I think it's viable because you have Josh Allen, you have a good offensive line, you have a good running game. So I think it's viable. It's also viable by comparison because there's two ways to look at it. Number one, is it viable? And number two, is it better? So looking at something, we talked about this in the pod today, right? There's two independent discussions happening. Is it good? And then is it better? Those are not the same question. So I could answer, is it good or is it optimal? And the answer is going to be no. Having Dawson Knox be a meaningful part of your passing game is not optimal. How do I know this? Because the best Bills offenses that pass the ball didn't have Dawson Knox as a significant heavy part of the passing offense. But is it better than throwing to a covered Keon Coleman on third and short on a fade route? Probably. So yes, I understand that it might not be good, but you're signing 32-year-old Brandon Cooks. You're bringing up Gabe Davis from the practice squad, ladies and gentlemen. We are absolutely bottom of the barrel right now when it comes to passing weapons. And we're looking around going, I don't know, Bruce, can you catch? No, I couldn't. That's why I was a defensive back, is because I couldn't catch. And also I'm old and would tear every ligament in my body the second I took a snap. So that's not going to happen. So Gabe Davis is better right now than Keon Coleman is. So what do? You put Gabe Davis on the field, because I'm not saying he's great. I'm saying he's better than Keon Coleman, right? And so now you think, okay, just constantly try to get better. It's a little bit like churning the bottom of your roster, okay? You have a bottom of the roster player and you go, okay, I like this player, but that player over there is a little bit better. I'm not saying he's a starter. I'm saying he's better than the guy I've got. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to churn the bottom of my roster. It's the same thing. The problem is the Bills are just churning these pieces of their passing attack. We're not trying to get great at this point from a passing weapon standpoint. There's nothing the Buffalo Bills can do at this spot to get great with passing personnel weapons this part of the season. That's not going to happen. But we could get better. So better should be the goal. Better should be where we're at. So that's the first question. Is it viable? Yes, I think it's viable. But more importantly, it's better. The second question was, what does the offseason look like as far as the passing attack, the passing weapons? I would not be shocked if the Bills had a conversation with Dawson Knox's agent at the combine and said, listen, go out there and just, we'll let you figure out what the market's going to be, because we want you back, but not at that number. So we like you. Josh Allen likes you. We value you. They speak highly of him. I don't feel good at that. If somebody out there is going to offer you $10 million a year, like, go, God bless. We love you. We appreciate the contributions. Go that. But if that's not the case, then let's talk about something that's like, $4 million a year. And let's see if we can do something, because I do think they like him and I do think they want him back. Do I think the Bills are going to draft a receiver? Maybe, maybe not, but I can almost guarantee they're going to acquire one at some point, free agency or draft, because Brandon Beane, he stuck his neck too far out, where he went on WGR and he said that bleeping about wide receivers is the dumbest thing he's ever heard. And then all of a sudden the wide receivers lay an egg and he's, bringing up Brandon Cooks in the middle of the season and putting on getting snaps. Like you can't do that and then have that happen and then not do anything. Like, the foot is officially in your mouth at this point. You got to do something. So I would anticipate there be something there. I do think that because of Dalton Kincaid's injuries, I would be shocked if they re-signed him this offseason to an extension. I think they'd let that one play out and say, let's see you get through a healthy season first.
Completely agree on that. And even just like seeing how he would do even through a fifth-year option as well. To kind of further back up that Dawson Knox point you were making, the fact that he is as loved as he is, like, he's seen as like that proverbial glue guy. And is it a stretch to say like he'd be an easy shoe-in to do a contract restructure? Maybe, but again, like, obviously the money talks. I mean, you could also see him potentially trying to go back closer to his family, because Tennessee is, like, as bad as they are, they might want a Dawson Knox in their locker room to kind of be a leader, to kind of help a younger quarterback. I mean,
he's not even that old either. Like, he's still like prime age for the most part.
Right.
He's not an old guy.
and you could do a whole lot worse than having Dawson Knox as like one of your starting tight ends. Granted, he is more of a blocking tight end as he's been seeing these last few years, but still, I could see Dawson Knox being willing to restructure. But again, it's not a guarantee because at the end of the day, that almighty dollar and that salary cap will speak true in and of itself. But kind of get into the comments real quick. So, yep, thanks tuning in, Brandon. Go Bills. Steve, so this one's for you, Bruce.
I love Steve's comment.
Bruce's show is one that I never have the urge to want to respond in the comment section. I just love to listen, learn, and absorb what he has to say. We could not agree more to that, Steve.
Yeah.
So, and also hello to our Texas fam as always. Thanks for tuning in.
Steve, very clearly the most talented and handsome of all the commenters, obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
Steve, your check is in the mail, my man.
All right, but sticking with the offense here, Bruce. So, talking with the running game now and James Cook. So, given how central Cook has been and the rest of the Bills running back rotation with Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, of course, and you could even include Reggie Gilliam in that because he's played a part as well, and how successful that running back room has been, do you think that level of production is truly sustainable once the team gets into the playoffs? And more specifically, if some of these postseason opponents that the Bills are going to face, they start to consistently stack the box and selling out to take away the run game, and they're really just daring the Bills to win through the air, does the team have enough of a counterpunch built into the scheme, especially now that they've kind of reworked how their wide receiver room essentially looks, to keep the backfield a legitimate weapon? Or does the offense really risk becoming too one-dimensional as it's kind of reared its ugly head in some of their losses this year and really just buckle under that kind of pressure?
Stacking the boxes, ironically enough, this is tied into the conversation we previously just had about the passing game and tight ends. And that one of the best things you can do to combat stacked boxes is actually, okay, let's think about it this way. I know that football is complicated. It's a really complicated team sport, but I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it like you're throwing the ball where the people aren't. Let's just think about it in that way. Okay. So if you have single high, you're going to throw the ball outside into the corners, right? If you have middle of the field open, you're going to throw the ball down the middle, right? Like, I know that it's just, please, I know it's overly simplistic, but when I was teaching elementary school kids this is where we were talking about. So like, just go with me on this. One of the ways you can do that is by having tight ends run corner routes, right? Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox run good corner routes, right? So I do think that there is a passing game advantage to having teams play single high and stack the box. Say what you will about Dawson Knox. The guy can hoof it. I mean, he's a fast guy. He can run in a straight line or in a quarter route at a good clip. And Dalton Kincaid is a nuanced route runner who can play above the rim and can do the things you need him to do to be able to run effective corner routes. Also is much more effective down the field than he was early in his career when Ken Dorsey was essentially using him as a chip block and release player. So I think that the Bills, if they decide, you know what, 13 personnel, right? That's going to be a big part of us. 12 personnel, 13 personnel. That's going to be the thing. It's not going to be all of what we do, but it's going to be where we hunt for bigger passing plays down the field.
The previous Ken Dorsey dream, of course.
Right. We're going to hunt in 12. We're going to hunt in 13. Jackson Hawes has become a nice player for us. That's what we're going to do. I dare you to bring everybody down in the box and let me hit a corner route over your head, right? I think there's something to this as long as Josh Allen's willing to pull the trigger on him, because that's not the same level of separation that you've historically seen from those Brian Dable spread the field, 11 personnel, right? Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs. It's a very different style of definition of open, right? What does open mean exactly? Does open mean I'm open vertically, or does open mean I'm open horizontally? And those things appear visually differently to a quarterback. So I do think that if they decide to lean into that as an identity piece in their passing attack, that lends itself well to making sure that you can fight that loaded box with a passing game. The caveat to that is this. If they decide to load the box and your solution is I'm going to throw fade balls to Keon Coleman and Gabe Davis, then that's not the answer. It all boils down to what is your solution? And one of the things that you saw against the Falcons, and you saw it against the Patriots, is that when people decide, you saw it against the Texans, when people decide to play man coverage against the Buffalo Bills, the entire game is going to hinge on Joe Brady's answers to that. The whole game. If you have good answers to that, you're going to be all right. If your answer is, hey, look at this, another screen to Khalil Shakir, like that's not going to be enough. So I think that there are answers there if Joe Brady is willing to commit to that as part of the identity.
Yep. Totally agree with that. And you actually brought up a good question. I do want to talk a little bit about defense, but you talked about that guy, Joe Brady. We talked about the passing game now, the weapons. We talked about the running game, and it's more specifically Joe Brady answers or lack thereof. So my question to you, Mr. Bruce, is how do I even say it? If there is not a step taken by Mr. Joe Brady in this playoffs, like maybe they've been hiding some things. I'm not very confident that is the case. But if he doesn't really, roll out some other pages of this playbook and get the Bills really over the hump into the promised land, that would be a Super Bowl, or at least, if not that, extremely good offensive showing from an X's O's perspective. Have you seen enough this year? And would you like him back? Or I think it's pretty well documented, at least it was last year. Maybe things have changed. Maybe he's coached his way out of these, but he was a pretty well thought of candidate for head coaching jobs. Would you be sorry or sad to see him go if that was what ended up happening?
I have never believed that Joe Brady or that Ken Dorsey was a special offensive mind that was irreplaceable, and that if we lost them, the world would end. I didn't believe in either of those things. I didn't believe about Brian Daboll. I thought more highly of Brian Daboll than I have about Joe Brady and Ken Dorsey. But I didn't think that about Brian Daboll either. I didn't think Daboll was, a lot of people were like, oh man, Daboll made Josh Allen. Remember that? Daboll made Josh. He'll be nothing without Daboll. Listen, we've now seen Josh Allen put up MVP caliber seasons with 3 different offensive coordinators. At what point are you going to have to figure out, do you know how bad you have to be to ruin an offense with Josh Allen?
Yeah.
Like, how bad do you have to be at play calling? Like, you're just sitting there going, I don't know, guys, like 4 verts, but with nothing but offensive line eligible. Yeah, let's do that. Like, that's how bad you have to be to ruin a Josh Allen offense. So I'm not beholden to Joe Brady. I think Joe Brady's done some nice things. There were some nuances in the Cincinnati Bengals game plan that I really liked. He leaned into I know I throw the screen to Shakir a lot, and he actually faked the screen to Shakir and went back the opposite direction, which I liked. So things like that, you're like, okay, yeah, I like these things. I like, his commitment to heavier personnels. I think the formational width is appropriate for where the NFL is heading. I don't think that the Josh Allen, Brian Daboll offense of 2020, I don't think that same level of offense would succeed as nearly as high of a level now as it did back then. And I think one of the reasons why is because it really hurt the Buffalo Bills' ability to get a running game in. And so I think that somehow we think that the run game is never a result of the offensive coordinator, but the passing game is, which I think is just insanity. But you'll see this with people. They tie the passing game in with an offensive coordinator, but not the running game, as if somehow that's just, running game is, whatever. You just, just press a button on, Madden and you run the ball. I don't know what to tell you. Like, they still matter, right? And also the concepts you have in your running game are married to your pass game concepts. It's not like these things function independently of each other. At least they don't if you're a decent offensive coordinator, right? It's not like, well, I have a set of pass plays that look like X and I have a set of run plays that look like Y and they don't look anything like each other. No, they're married together, right? Conceptually, from a formational standpoint, from a formational width standpoint, all the stuff is in there. Personnel groupings, it's all together as a single related unit. So I don't think you can criticize Brady for the passing game, but then also give him no credit for the running game. Like, I don't think that's probably fair, but I don't think he's a special offensive coordinator. Like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So yeah, I'm fine. If they want to keep him, that's fine. If they want to get rid of him, I'm fine too. Like, I don't think we do well in living with a world with fine. That's been my big issue with McDermott for the last couple of years, is that people are like, oh, McDermott's trash. I'm like, well, he's probably not trash. Like, oh, McDermott's the best. Okay, man, he's probably not the best. But then everybody hates you, right? If you think someone's like the 16th best something in the NFL, everyone hates you. Well, I don't know. I think he's maybe like the 13th best something. No, everyone hates him. He's either the worst or the best. It's the same thing with Joe Brady. I don't think Joe Brady's a terrible offensive coordinator. I don't think he's irreplaceable, but that puts me in a really weird situation when I'm commenting on it. And people don't feel comfortable with that, but maybe we should.
Yeah, I would take Brian Dable back. I'd be fine with that.
I know many people would.
I don't think Sean McDermott would.
No, he would not. But to kind of talk about just quickly before Sean transitions a bit to the defense, I think Sean McDermott does deserve at least a bit more credit for how this season has gone down, because I know there's always rumblings of like, oh, do him and Brandon Beane like get along this year just based on the personnel groupings? But considering like the hand he's been dealt as far as defense and injuries and things of that nature, I think he's done his best to elevate the squad that he has. Obviously, the D-line has not gone the way it has been, just because the pass rush without Joey Bosa is very toothless, to say the least. Right. I mean, Ed Oliver's injury just loom large. I mean, that really was a huge blow to them. But I will say, like, as has always been his strength, he's really elevated the pass defense, which is still pretty outstanding. I mean, Christian Benford, I mean, let's hope that toe injury.
Number one in the league somehow again.
Right? That toe injury of his doesn't exactly be too impactful going to the game this weekend and further on. But still, Maxwell Harrison still showing to be having a lot of promise in this rookie season. Trey White quietly having a really strong last month and change in the pass defense. Cole Bishop, what many were hoping to be true, him taking the next step is really starting to come to fruition there. And then also Jordan Poyer being that steady and present. So I want to give credit to McDermott there, just because, again, while he might not be like top tier upper echelon in many people's eyes, like I do think, like, again, he most definitely has his critics. He has people coming out fire and brimstone and pitchforks for him. I'll probably still on a weekly basis, even for just some of the more mundane things he does. But people criticized him for being conservative in the past. I mean, a lot of the stuff that came out from the Tyler Dunn article a couple of years ago already, I mean, that really maybe helped evolve him so that he has become more aggressive. He's not just going to maybe kick that maybe easy 3 points and a field goal. He'll go for fourth down plays like he showed this past week against Cincinnati, and hopefully going forward too.
Yeah, he knows how to coach a secondary, that's for sure. And he's elite at that. You know, he might not be like the top coach that's gonna, give you wins and losses, like where his coaching is affecting things like that. But he knows how to coach the secondary up quite a bit. He's always done that throughout his tenure. And the other thing is, for my money, and if you guys want to comment on this, feel free, or if not, I'll get into the defense. But in the hierarchy of the coaching for this season, looking at the coordinators, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, I have Sean McDermott safe as the most safe out of everybody whose head could be on a chopping block this year. And not always the case. So
completely.
I do want to I'm glad we transitioned to the defense. I know Bruce is a defensive guy, so have to ask Bruce. I got to ask you about a couple guys. But really, Shaq Thompson, the guy has stepped in. He's played at such a high level, essentially becoming the on-field quarterback, wearing the green dot, as of late for the defense, despite really originally he was expected to serve more as a depth piece in this year and in this stage of his career, a late signing. So how would you, Bruce, interpret him, and also for that matter, Jordan Poyer's, which Chris just alluded to, their impact on the unit's overall performance, obviously improving now in the stretch run, still number one pass defense somehow. It seems like they've been terrible all year, but the pass defense is solid. Do you think Shaq's and then also Jordan's leadership and their play recognition have elevated the defense beyond what was anticipated? And is the resurgence for the defense something that the Bills can realistically depend on, as they will absolutely, in my opinion, need to generate both defensive stops and to continue to have those takeaways to survive and advance, as an old famous basketball coach used to say, in the single elimination tournament that is the NFL playoffs?
The last few games that the Buffalo Bills have played, they have played against a backup quarterback, a geriatric quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Then they played against Joe Burrow in the snow and got lit up like a Christmas tree. So, I'll get back to you after the New England Patriots game. How's that sound? Because I don't think that we're in really a position to say the defense has been elevated at all based on what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, because we don't really have a good standard in which to go up against. I mean, it was Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers, man. Like, and then the second you played a good offense, you got lit up, and you got a tipped interception, which is great. And you got Christian Benford making a great play, which is great. And then you went right back to getting lit up again. Like, it was, you know, you had to score on almost every drive to win that game against the Bengals. Now, let's be completely clear. Joe Burrow's a stud. Okay. He's such a classically traditional quarterback. And I mean that in the absolute highest praise, because people who just love to watch Dan Marino throw the ball around love Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow operates an offense at such an incredibly high level that he can do what Josh Allen can do, in the sense that he can make any offensive coordinator look good, but a very completely different way. A completely different way. Joe Burrow's anticipation, his accuracy, his ability to run concepts in the offense is so high level. It is so elite that the concepts don't even have to be that good, right? Like, you don't even have to have good marrying concepts. He'll just make it look awesome. I don't think Zach Taylor is a particularly impressive offensive genius. And so that's important. Like, he's great. And I understand he scores a lot of points, but you're going to face other really good offenses. Like, Drake May is really good too, folks. Like, I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow at this point. I think sample size would tell you it's probably inappropriate for that statement, but Drake May is really good too. So when it comes to the first part, have they elevated it? You know, I'll let you know in a little bit. When I see something that is worth judging their elevation on, I'll let you know. I think the thing you're seeing with Poyer, and I think you're seeing with Shaq Thompson, is that athleticism is only ever part of the equation when it comes to defensive players. We talked about this on the show when it came to Cole Bishop earlier this year. And what I said was, you are seeing what happens when athleticism meets aggression, and athleticism meets conviction. And that's what allows you to be that aggression that you want. You can be the aggressor because your conviction is there. You know what you're supposed to do. And if you have a high level of conviction, you can make up for a little lack of athleticism, right? And how is it that you achieve a high level of conviction? You are in a defense you're familiar with. You're in a defense that you know. You're in a defense that was already fit for your skill set before. Because let's be honest, the Bobby Babich defense is not markedly different than the last defense or the Leslie Frazier defense. It wasn't. It's not all that different, because really all of it is pseudo Sean McDermott's defense. So it's important that we recognize that I know we all get tired of the same old people. Oh, look, they brought back the same guy over and over again. Yeah, and that's true. And that's kind of annoying. But if I have the ability to get someone whose athleticism is a 4, but their conviction is a 10, I'd rather have that than someone whose athleticism is 7 and their conviction's a 1. And I think that's the way we got to look at it and understand that this is what you get for all the crap we give Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott about rehashing the same people over and over again. This is what you get. So sometimes you hit a Shaq Lawson and Jordan Poyer who can come in and kind of keep you afloat. They're not saving your season, but they're keeping you afloat. The reason they can keep you afloat is because they have the right combination of athleticism, whatever's left, and conviction.
So I really just have been perplexed at the defense all year long with just not only the fact that you brought that up, because they've often just been maddening for a lot of people for the bulk of the season. And I'm glad Shaq Thompson and Jordan Poyer are back, or not. Well, Shaq Thompson being his first time, but I'm glad someone like Jordan Poyer is back in the fold, because it allows just like a steadying presence for especially some of the younger players. But Terrell Bernard has just been hampered by injuries all year, and I'm not sure if he's essentially just big enough to play. And I know that's just obviously
the scheme, Chris. It's the scheme.
The scheme is helping him, but at the same time, I think Shaq Thompson is just a more suitable middle linebacker, whether it's just for this season. Maybe he signs another short-term or maybe even one-year deal next year. but I think he is more of the middle linebacker of what the team needs right now, because the run defense, I mean, again, say what you will about just the previous opponents, so within the Bengals and the Steelers, it has shorted up quite a bit too. So I'm not ready to say, like you were saying, Bruce, that they are markedly better per se, but I do think they are playing with it. I mean, if you're just going for the vibes, they're playing with a bit more juice. I know they're still probably living and dying by the turnovers more so, but I do think just as a collective unit, it feels like, yes, they're going to give up some points, but you can count on them eventually, whether it's a second half adjustment, which they've been shown to have a great propensity to do these last few weeks. They're able to eventually make the plays, maybe after getting beat up a few times.
Sure.
But to kind of just take a quick break, get a word from one of our sponsors here. Also, thank you to our over 1,000 viewers for tuning in right now. But now a quick word from our folks over at DraftKings Sportsbook. So the jaw-dropping moments that make hockey, they are here, folks. Experience them all with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. So this one's new as of recently. Missouri, you now have sports gambling legal. So Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. So new customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. And download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. But before we get to our disclaimer, going over a couple of the odds for this week for both the Bills and the Sabres. The Sabres about to start their game in Vancouver tonight, and also the Bills again this Sunday. So it's actually funny enough that both the Bills and the Sabres are both road favorites, both favored by 1.5 points. Kind of funny how that worked for once this time. But with that in mind, obviously we go to DraftKings for all of our sports betting odds. Feel free to check them out and use that code THPN once more. And now for the disclaimer, of course. Excuse me. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional items and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. And now, folks, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Chris Maz, is there any odds on Kevin Adams being the next GM fired in the NHL? I'd like to know that.
I meant to look that one up earlier, but if I was a betting, that would probably be something I would be willing to put some minus money on. So you'd have to put a little bit more on in order to make a quick buck up. Bruce, I know the Sabres aren't exactly your forte, but things have been really steaming up in the rumor mill there, just to say the least, with Kevin Adams' job status. We'd be remiss to not at least mention that at some point this evening.
I only recently learned how to spell Kevin Adams. So
that's important to know.
I'm pretty disconnected from it. I'm like, I'm just getting the general consensus is that we don't like him, but I don't know why. So I'm just assuming he's bad at his job. When I say I don't follow the Sabres, what I mean is I don't really know how hockey works. Like I've been to a hockey game at one point. It was a Hershey Bears game, a minor league hockey game in Pennsylvania. I went to one of those one time. I learned what icing was a couple years ago, so that was fun. I couldn't tell you right now how many people play on a hockey team. So if that tells you anything about my hockey knowledge, that would be it.
Perfectly acceptable for our intents and purposes tonight. But at the same time, we'd be remiss if we just didn't even mention it tonight. But to kind of take a little bit more of a wider lens on the NFL. So as you look around the league this season, Bruce, to you, are there any real NFL surprises or major takeaways that have just stood out throughout the course of the season? It is now December. You've seen how the season has unfolded for nearly every team. Obviously, the book's not done on several. I mean, there might be some last backdoor entrances for some teams getting a wild card. Heck, you even have tonight's game having some NFC South implications. I mean, heck, for all you fantasy football folks having Kyle Pitts. Tonight is your night. He's got 2 touchdown catches already. But still, just kind of getting back to that. Has there been a specific team that's been really emerging in your eyes, or a player or unit that's really reshaped the league narrative? We've just been really curious what's caught your attention from a really broader league-wide perspective, Bruce.
First off, I'm doing the salute, major takeaways, but also I'm going to take this in a little bit of a different direction. I'm going to say my biggest surprise is that there is a bottom limit to how much Kevin O'Connell can get out of a quarterback. I think one of the things that we took away from last year was, well, he did it for Kirk Cousins. He did it for Sam Darnold. Surely JJ McCarthy's going to be at least passable, right? Well, no, actually. JJ McCarthy has been historically bad. Like one of the worst starting quarterbacks in recent memory through his first few games. And the idea that there is a floor that is much lower than perhaps was initially perceived for a Kevin O'Connell-led passing offense, I think that has done a little bit of that has done, I won't say damage to Kevin O'Connell's reputation. That's too strong, too dramatic of a term. But I think that has changed perceptions of Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings organization because of what you've seen from JJ McCarthy, because you put in Max Brosmer and he looked horrendous. I mean, it was Nathan Peterman style game from Brosmer.
Yeah, that was a rough watch.
You think to yourself, how did the Vikings mismanage the most important position in sports? Like, the reason they let Sam Darnold go is because they had seen JJ McCarthy and they knew he was going to be good, right? Wrong. And so I think that they didn't bring in any meaningful, like they really just put all the eggs in JJ McCarthy's basket. We all just assumed that they must know he's good, right? Wrong.
They have to know something at this point, but what people do know is they do not want to be turned into the 9 meme. That's for sure.
Right. No. In fact, I was actually thinking, so I'm just going to go ahead and spoil this. The next time JJ McCarthy airballs something, I'm going to make a Deep Space Nine reference on social media. And nice. I just want you guys to know to be prepared for it. And if someone else does it first, you know that they stole the idea from me.
Hey, well, there you go. Bruce giving some Star Trek right there for you.
They have managed to make Justin Jefferson and some of those other good weapons they have look very pedestrian. I think that's hard to do. Justin Jefferson's hella good, man.
Made Justin Jefferson getting talks of being in the trade bill or trade rumor mill this coming off season. So just based on his
trade for him, that would complete the Diggs trade, right?
That'd be just crazy how that would play out if it actually happened. I mean, that would be a colossal amount on the salary cap, because I believe he's the 30+ million on the salary cap, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right. He's up there.
Yeah. But that's an interesting take, especially on the Vikings. I mean, many thought like the NFC North. I mean, it obviously still is, with the exception of being the Vikings. Like the Bears, the Lions, and the Packers have made that still one of the more challenging divisions in the NFL. I mean, we always talk about this quite a bit. Our dad being the Lions fan, I think seeing them regress as much as they did. I mean, is it
coordinators, man? Coordinators. We talked about it.
Yes, the coordinators being a much bigger impact than you could have ever possibly imagined. I mean, Ben Johnson has really just turned the culture around in Chicago, which I think is great for them, because I mean, as a close
for
friend,
Brian,
Brian. Good for our friend Brian Griffin, if he's listening. I know he's a happy Bears fan at this point, although going from the 1 seed to the 7 seed in a matter of 1 week is it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow. But I do think they might still be on the up and up at this point. But I do think the NFC North is still one of the most fascinating divisions in football, just because of the nature of that division. Not to mention, you also have another really strong one being in the NFC West. You got the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Rams just really being at the top of their game this year. I mean, and that's San Francisco, again, just being decimated once more by injuries. That's just like a prerequisite for them to go through just about any season. So
I need a new strength coach or something there.
Well, that sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. But to kind of keep things rolling on here, fantasy football here, Bruce. So depending on what league you're in, you might be in the playoffs, so no matter in pretty much any format you're in. What have been some of your lucky takeaways, or maybe one of the sleeper picks that you've had for this year that has really served you well?
I think one of the things that really served me well was taking Tyler Warren at 201 in my rookie draft for one of my dynasty leagues. I think one of the things that we consistently undersold for the Colts was how terrible the quarterbacks were. And one of the things that we kind of just didn't really think through all the way was the idea that if you take a tight end that high who had that kind of production, you're going to find ways to get him the ball. So there were plenty of leagues where Matthew Golden went ahead of Tyler Warren. There were plenty of leagues where Jaden Higgins went ahead of Tyler Warren. There were tight end premium leagues where this happened, where Caleb Johnson went ahead of Tyler Warren. And so I think that probably my best pick was getting Tyler Warren when I did. On the flip side, I was one of the people who took Caleb Johnson over Tyler Warren. So I'm going to go ahead and fall on that sword too, because I took Caleb Johnson at 112. So I had 112 and 201 back-to-back picks. And so I took Caleb Johnson there, 100%. And it didn't go great, Bob. Wait, no, 111. It was 111. I think Marino had 112 or something like that.
But so it was he had the back-to-back because is it a 12-person league?
It's a 12-person league. I didn't have back-to-backs, but I did have 201 and then one really, really late in the first round. I think it was 111 or I don't remember, but it was 111, I think. And I took Caleb Johnson because I was like, listen, I know Marino's going to take a tight end. And if he takes Warren, I'll take Loveland. If he takes Loveland, I'll take Warren. I wanted to trade up and get Warren because I had Warren rated higher than Loveland. But I was like, I'll just take whichever one he doesn't take, and that'll be fine. But I'd like to trade up and get Warren because I prefer Warren to Loveland as a fantasy asset. And I couldn't get him to bite on it. So I said, okay, I'm going to stick and pick and take Caleb Johnson. And then he picked Loveland and I picked Warren. And so that was a really, really bad move, but also a really smart move. And it just goes to show you that really, let's be completely candid, a huge chunk of fantasy football is just luck.
Absolutely.
And this is coming from a guy who's got multiple championships. I'm still here to tell you, guess what? It's not because I'm Studley and all those things. You know, I made some good calls. I made some terrible calls. I also got lucky. Like, that's just kind of, I picked up Puka Nacua off waivers. Like, it's just things sometimes work for you and sometimes they don't.
Yeah. One of those luck things for me playing out this year, I was able to be fortunate enough to get Rico Dowdle, and he is definitely, he's given me top 10 running back production there too. And I'm able to pair him with, because we did this one as a redraft year. I have Bijan Robinson, who's still going right now. It's been a pretty great running back tandem throughout the season. I did kind of think of you because you've been a truther of him ever since last year. Ladd McConkey was my first receiver because my first two picks were tough. Were Bijan because I had like a later first round pick. Surprisingly, he didn't go till towards the end. But then I immediately went, just because I knew like there'd be a run on top quarterbacks, I went Bijan and then Josh Allen right away because that was towards the end of the second round, and I was able to get Mad Ladd as my first receiver in round 3. So I thought of you when I made that pick as well.
Early I had 12 too. Actually, I did 12 and 13. Same thing. 12. I went. It sucked actually. So I went Josh Allen, which I've been pretty happy about, and then 13th. So the first pick of the second round, I went Malik Neighbors. Tragedy. Oh. Yeah. So that was tough, but actually, a real sleeper pick for me, real quick, and I'll let you get back to it. I had for some reason, I don't know why this guy fell so far down. I got ETN like way down. I think Tootin got picked above him. I got him.
Yeah. Everybody thought Bajal Tootin was just coming to take his job.
Yeah. Did not happen. It's that I started him every week, damn near. That worked out. So
yeah, I'd love to hear your take back on Ladd McConkey again there, Bruce.
Yeah, I Joe Marino and I do a what I would have done draft every year for the last 5 years, I feel like. And every year people get really mad at you for having the gall, right? The unmitigated gall to be so arrogant as to you assume that big baller Bean would ever make a mistake, all the way until I drafted Ladd McConkey and he drafted Keon Coleman. So right after the draft was over, hadn't played a snap. I went on record saying Keon wasn't the pick. It was Ladd. Stuck myself out there. I look genius. Also, I took Creed Humphrey when you took Boogie Basham. So I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying I want to be a GM, and I don't think I'd be a very good GM, but this all goes back to the luck thing. Like, even people like me can still get it right at some point. So really, I think, and I've said this before on the show, I think there's an element of luck to football that we're just not comfortable with. We want everything to be skill-based, and I don't get it. Like, you ever play Battleship with somebody?
Yes.
Like, Battleship has a little bit of skill because you got to know the person. You got to understand ups and downs. And so far as you got to say, okay, I get, like, is this the type of person who would group their stuff together? Or is this the type of person who would spread them out? Would they use the corners? You know, what did they do last time? Would they do that again? You know, things like that. But it's like 95% random luck and 5% skill, right? Like, we all accept that about Battleship, but we won't accept there being like 20% luck in football. Like, we're just not willing to, because that would eliminate our ability to yell and scream about firing people. And we don't want to do that. So
very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Now to kind of go down a little bit more of something that you may have allegedly said you're a fan of in the past, but some Ohio State football. Obviously, they are perpetually a hot topic in the, let's just say, the ever-evolving college football landscape. But Bruce, again, as you've may or may not have said in the past, you being an Ohio State football fan, how are you liking their prospects this year going into the college football playoff? Obviously,
tough game the other night, but I think that they're going to bounce back. I think they will.
I do too. I think that I feel the exact same way about the Buckeyes that I did before the loss to Indiana, which is I think they're national championship level contenders. If they win one, that'd be great. If they don't win one, I'm okay. I think that one of the things that's interesting about being a Bills fan and a Buckeye fan is they are very, very different organizations from I'll say, satisfaction standpoint. So I find myself very satisfied with my tenure as a Buckeye fan. I've seen multiple national championships, and I'm good with that. Like, I look around at other Buckeye fans and they're like super duper mad. Like, and I'm like, dude, I saw a national championship last year. Why are you yelling? Right. But then you look at the Buffalo Bills fans who would literally say, I would do anything. I had a guy in my comments saying he would take 10 years off of his life to get a Buffalo Bills championship. And I'm like, whoa, man, buddy. Like, I think, to be honest, that's a great talking point. Like, how much time would you be willing to take off your life for a Buffalo Bills championship? Like, just start going, like, 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, a day, 5 days, a year. Like, where is the line, right? For many people. And for this guy, he walked in there and said 10 years, easy. I was like, whoa, dude. Like, I mean, you'd have to talk me into like 5 minutes, right? Like, you'd have to talk me into, because that's how much I value my time with my wife, right? But that's the conversation that's so different for the Bills than it is for the Buckeyes, at least for me. And it makes me wonder, if the Bills win one, am I going to feel the same way? Am I going to feel like, you know what? I said I wanted one before I died. I got one before I died. I'm good. Like, it's almost like when you're just retired. I used to have a buddy who's retired, and he used to hand out business cards, and the business cards said retired on them. And on the phone number, it said, don't call me. And I was like, this guy's a baller. First off, let's just start with that.
Flex.
This guy's a baller. He would just walk up and hand you his card. It'd say, I'm not going to give you his real name, but it said Bob Smith, retired, don't call me. And that was the whole card. It was like palm trees and crap on the back of the card. And I was like, this guy spent money just to flex on you. Like, that's how legit and legendary this dude is. That's the kind of vibe that I have as a Buckeye fan. I'm like, yeah, no, I've seen multiple national championships. I just saw one last year. Maybe if I go 25 years and I don't see another one, you know, maybe I'll feel differently. But like, I'm pretty chill as a Buckeye fan. My wife, not quite as chill about her Buckeye fandom. Very emotional, yells and screams, cries, the whole thing. I'm cool, man.
Hey, there you go.
It's got to be nice when you always have a brand new class that comes in every year that's like top 5, top 10 every year.
Yeah.
You know? It's like my buddy's a Duke basketball fan. It's the same thing.
Hey, it's spoiled. We're spoiled rotten, man. You kidding me?
So on the flip side of that, one more point about college football, and we'll start to get towards the end of our show here tonight. So my wife, she went to UVA, University of Virginia. They had, let's just say, a better year in football than they've had in quite some time. Also, big catch by Mike Evans if you're watching Thursday Night Football. But needless to say, we have also a lot of friends, and because us living in Virginia, we have a lot of family that are big JMU fans. So, needless to say, they were quite happy with the way the ACC championship went. And now that while JMU is likely going to be just crucified by Oregon on national television when that happens, I know there were a lot of happy Duke fans rather that being JMU Duke fans in our
still
family.
Impressive, Chris. The fact that they're where they are right now. Let's be honest.
But at the same time, much to the, let's just say, I'll be kind and say disappointment for my wife, just being the UVA fan that she is as she went there. So tough break for them, despite like a really great season nonetheless. But Bruce, this next part, as I talked to you about, that kind of get us closer towards the end of the show, we like to do this now with all of our guests here. It's our grind my gears or give them their flowers segment. And like I told you off camera, just to kind of set you up for it, you either are going to talk about some things that are absolutely driving you nuts or give you the proverbial, what's grinding my gears, like Peter Griffin type of thing. Or you can give someone their flowers or show some gratitude, some love and appreciation for someone or something in your life that's been truly great. So to start things off, I'll do one thing that I can say is like mildly grinding my gears, just because, again, it's not so much a thing where you could like be like truly like just angry about, but it's just the fact that everybody can have their own take on the holiday season. Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all of them kind of compiled in one. Or if you're somebody who celebrates Hanukkah, all the above, just getting everybody included on that. But I just feel like that whole season just goes by so quickly. Like you could just see it in the snap of a finger. Weeks go by like the blink of an eye. All the vibes, all the different things you could do with food, parties, festivities, all the little get-togethers you can do, not only with friends, but with families now. I always just feel like what grinds my gears is it's over before you know it. And now, especially as like a dad with two little kids, the magic is back again, obviously, of course, for them just having the experience with Santa and things of that nature. And you hype it up. Sometimes you feel like you're doing it months and months out. And I just feel like what grinds my gears, you feel like all the preparation that not only goes into it, whether it's you're somebody who buys the gifts or you're somebody who's just doing logistical planning for like a party. I just feel like it's just over before you know it, just because that's just the nature of just the buildup for it. Whether you're just like the person who just like is the consumerism side of it or just like the vibe side of it. That's just the one thing I wish people would be able to just slow down and appreciate more, just because, again, it could be some truly special times.
Okay. Do I go next? Is that
absolutely? So feel free to pick one or do both. Absolutely.
I can't really do a great Peter Griffin. You know what really grinds my gears?
That's really good. Wow.
Yeah.
What really grinds my gears is morons on the internet. Morons on the internet grind my gears. There are only two bumpers on human behavior. There's two things that stop you from doing bad things: intrinsic moral compass and fear of consequence. That's it. It's just those two things. I shouldn't do this thing because it's bad, or I shouldn't do this thing because it will have a repercussion I don't want. That's it. It's just those two things. And what you have when you give anonymity to morons on the internet is they have removed both those things, right? They don't have any inherent moral compass and they don't have to fear any consequence. So they just say or do whatever they want, right? And really, these people probably should be physically assaulted at some point in their lives to stop them from doing it, right? They probably should be, because that's the only thing that's going to stop them from doing what they're doing. And truthfully, what's happened is I don't think the internet's made people worse. I think the internet has revealed a part of society that is awful and has stoked a portion of society that is truly just terrible people. Right? They're just terrible, awful people. It's just that simple, right? They are all the things that you hate about people. They're dishonest, they're mean, they're rude, they're insulting, they're racist, they're whatever it is. Right? All the worst things about people. And we've taken it up a notch by making ourselves believe somehow that discourse on the internet has value. When it doesn't. Like, I get legitimately shocked whenever I have an intelligent conversation with someone that's productive and does something, because that's not a thing.
It's so few and far between. I think we talked
really
about
is.
this the last time we had you on, and how you handle internet trolls and your pineapple function that you do.
Yeah, I'll just mute everybody, because the truth of the matter is, there's too many of you. Think about it this way. If 70% of the people that you meet online are morons, then that means you're just going to mute 70% of the accounts. And that's fine. Like, everyone always like, oh man, Bruce, he's so soft. He has 10,000. Are you trying to tell me that out of the millions of people who have at one point interacted with somebody on social media, there aren't 10,000 of them that are crapheads? Really? I find that, if anything, I haven't met enough people to mute them yet. So what really grinds my gears is that people like that aren't going to get the justice I believe they deserve. Because truthfully, right, they're going to go through their entire internet career and never have a consequence for their actions. And they clearly don't have any moral compass that would tell them not to do that. That's bad. So we have to live in a society that we just have to accept being unjust. And that grinds my gears.
So you got some agreement there from some of our Texas fam that tunes in. So appreciate that take, Bruce, because again, a lot of garbage people out on the internet, and a lot of just garbage takes, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't take much just to be, not a jerk, not just a tool of any kind.
That's
so
true.
You heard it here first from the Bruce exclusive. Don't be a dick on the internet.
That's right. Don't be a tool. Don't be a dick. I'm just going to give flowers. I have well, I'll do a real quick one for grinding my gears. Normally this wouldn't grind my gears, but fantasy football leagues that there's an extra win each week based on the median and points. And most of the time this has helped me. This year, it's going to F me. I'm not going to be in the playoffs because even though I double won and I needed to win both, because I was in a one game behind the gentleman I was playing for the last playoff spot. I'm in a 12-team league. He ended up, and I knew I was going to beat him. I had Josh Allen, obviously, went gangbusters. I had some other guys. I knew I was going to win. It was clear. But the guy I was playing hit the median, which made him beat me and knock me out of the playoffs. So whatever, it's all good. But some love that I do have to share, a couple. Sabres off to a nice 1-0 lead after Rasmus Dahlin slap shot goal just now. Throw that in. But really, my main two flowers that I'm going to give tonight, for one, Mr. Bruce Nolan, for joining the show again. One of our favorite guests that we've ever had. To all 1,200 people that are watching live, just like how Chris and I love your work, and they love your work as well. Everybody tunes in, and whenever we have you on, it's been one of our biggest shows both times now. So thank you again. We know how much your time is valuable, so thank you for that. And also, I just wanted to give a quick shout out and flowers to our Chris and our parents, who are now recently retired, and they're starting to kind of do their traveling thing when they're not, visiting their kids and coming to take care of their grandkids now in Richmond or their grandkids in Buffalo. And I'm just very happy and pleased that in their retirement age, they're starting to do some stuff for themselves and are going to start to, kind of live for the time that they have left here. Do what they want to do with their time. It's great to help out the family, but I'm excited for them to start really living their life in that retirement type of phase, like Bruce's buddy with the card. Maybe we need to buy them a card. It says that they're done working. Shout out to them, man.
Yeah, so could not agree more with that take there, Sean. So me, mom, pa, if you're listening, so that one's for you there.
Sure they are. I'm sure they are.
Yeah. So once again, Bruce, thank you so much for your time. As always, this was an absolute pleasure. Give yourself a plug for the listeners. Tell us where they can find you and where they can listen to your amazing work.
If for some reason you listened to this and said, that guy, definitely want to hear more of that guy, then you can. I mean, I wouldn't strongly recommend it. I'm not really, I'm sure I'm willing to go that far, but okay. The Bruce exclusive is available wherever you get your podcasts. It drops every Thursday. And you can find me on socials at Bruce Exclusive, though. Let's be completely candid. If you're a jerk, I'll just mute you, and it really won't matter that you're following me. So that's a plug if ever I've heard one.
There you go. Heard it here first. Again, once again, to all of us folks tuning in, and nearly 1,200 of you, we thank you for tuning in. We are very likely going to be taking a little break for these upcoming holidays that are headed our way, like we talked about already. But again, hey, you might be hearing us next time. The Bills might be in contention to maybe steal away the AFC East. The Buffalo Sabres might have a totally different general manager. You never know. But we shall see on the next Step Brother Sports. Thank you all for tuning in.